Is Prince Harry really about to become simply Harry, severed from every ribbon of royal status like a name tag peeled off at the end of a garden party? A decade-seasoned reporter surveys the scene as Westminster's red leather benches tremble with a petition that would strike His Royal Highness, the Duke of Sussex, from every official roster. The filing is no ceremonial grumble. It invokes ancient statute, rouses constitutional lawyers, and signals a House of Lords suddenly willing to redraw genealogical parchment. In the corridors, aides whisper that this is the monarchy's version of a firewall strip the title, contain the blaze, protect the crown's core code. The move lands after 4 years of escalating fallout, a bombshell Oprah interview in 2021, a 6-part Netflix docuseries that looped like late-night reruns, and the 2023 memoir Spare, whose raw recriminations thawed even the iciest palace stoicism. With each media sally, the prince's connection to court protocol frayed. Yet titles remained, and those Latin honorifics on royal warrants still implied mutual allegiance. No, W. peers argue symbolism has collided with substance. If Harry can monetize Duke of Sussex while disclaiming royal duty, the title itself becomes a brand logo rather than a badge of service. Newspapers splash graphics. Last chance for HRH? While constitutional commentators remind audiences that Parliament, not the palace, ultimately regulates peerages. History shows few precedents. Edward VIII lost his majesty by abdication. Princess Diana forfeited HRH in divorce, but Harry's case is novel, legislative erasure rather than personal surrender. As committee clerks schedule readings, cameras prowl St. Stephen's Hall, hungry for precedent turned spectacle. But then the inquiry takes a deeper turn, for the roots of this rupture were planted long before the first petition ink dried. But then, was the fracture inevitable from the moment a disillusioned prince told Oprah Winfrey that royal life felt trapped, sparking a cultural earthquake across continents? From that primetime confession, the monarchy's trademark reticence buckled under relentless Sunbelt glare. Veteran correspondents chart how each revelation allegations of racial bias, pleas for mental health support, hints of withheld security reshaped the Sussex narrative from fairy tale to cautionary epic. Netflix extended the saga, repackaging palace corridors into bingeable drama, framing Harry not as errant scion, but as whistleblower of gilded dysfunction. The series' cinematography lingered on California sunsets, inviting global audiences to contrast Montecito's open skies with Buckingham's crenellated shadows. Meanwhile, Spare barged onto bestseller lists wielding inside baseball anecdotes. Frostbitten ears in Arctic charity treks, explosive rows with Prince William, and recollections of Diana's ghost-like reassurance. Each anecdote reinforced Harry's voice, yet eroded the institution's mystique, destroying, in critics' words, the never complain, never explained bulwark that kept Windsor drama behind damask curtains. Commentators dissected motive, catharsis or cash, advocacy or vendetta. Either way, every televised confession fed parliamentary murmurs that titles without duty reduce monarchy to talk show fodder. The House of Lords docket, once preoccupied with fisheries and finance, now lists titles deprivation alongside legislation on digital trade. But then the debate widens to ask, what do royal titles signify in a century that prizes authenticity over aristocracy? But then, what does a title even mean in 2025 emblem of ancestral service or influencer badge with an antique crest? Historians remind viewers that dukedoms date to Tudor power politics, when land, loyalty, and military responsibility intertwined. In modern Britain, a dukedom chiefly supplies ceremonial standing, regimental patronage, civic openings, and ribbon-cutting gravitas. Yet intangible currency still flows. Introductions to global philanthropy boards, invitations to Davos, soft power capital in Commonwealth capitals. The reporter charts how Harry's philanthropic credibility, especially through the Invictus Games, once exemplified titled service. Wounded veterans saluting a prince-turned-soldier, global sponsors flocking to royal halo. But post-Megxit, that halo grew contested. Supporters argue his advocacy continues. Detractors counter that Netflix's reported 100 million packed recast duty as content. The semantic line between His Royal Highness and Hollywood producer blurred. Constitutional scholars warn, if the public concludes titles are tradable assets, the institution's moral warrant erodes. Already, Denmark slimmed its prince cohort in 2022. Sweden followed suit. Spain curtailed stipends. Britain's crown is richer in pageantry than political authority strip that pageantry of seriousness, and the soft power engine sputters. Thus, peers insist, title integrity is national interest, not aristocratic vanity. But then skeptics pivot, alleging that the Sussexes crossed from misinterpretation to monetization, weaponizing lineage for streaming gold. But then, critics contend the couple flipped royal privilege into Silicon Valley-style venture capital, turning Sussex into a global trademark. Financial analysts unpack the numbers. Netflix, Spotify, Penguin Random House, venture fund speeches earnings rumored well north of $150 million. Each contract, they argue, leaned on the drama of departure and the allure of insider revelations. Meghan's Archetypes podcast traded on Duchess-level cachet. Harry's memoir leveraged palace anecdotes. Free market advocates cheer entrepreneurial reinvention. Constitutional purists bristle at the optics of duty for dollars. The reporter notes that previous royals earned fortunes, the Duke of Westminster via real estate, Prince Andrew via trade envoy work, yet did so under tacit rules. Keep controversies private, avoid overt productizing of royal narrative. Harry's pivot, critics claim, crossed that unwritten threshold. The Sussex brand appeared on motivational seminars, documentary imprints, and even ethical investment panels. Parliamentary whispers grew. If a peerage bolsters personal licensing deals, future royals might replicate the model, hollowing institutional value. Yet allies retort that modern philanthropy demands revenue streams, that Harry funds Archewell initiatives through those very contracts that parliamentarians decry. The argument loops commerce versus calling. But then attention shifts to Meghan Markle, whose presence many inside the palace still perceive as both catalyst and accelerant. But then, where exactly does Meghan, Duchess of Sussex actress, advocate enlightening rod fit into a petition that never names her yet echoes with her silhouette? Third-person reporting traces her 2017 arrival, a biracial American divorcee entering the lily-white tableau of British court ritual, instantly invigorating royal coverage. She championed charity cookbooks, wore ethically sourced fashion, and spoke fluently on gender equality attributes that energized younger demographics. But tabloids soon amplified tales of protocol breaches and palace tears. Supporters framed these leaks as institutional intolerance. Detractors saw a star unwilling to apprentice in royal restraint. After Megxit, Meghan's production acumen, she had Hollywood agents on speed dial accelerated the couple's documentary and podcast slate. Detractors coined Megxit as shorthand for perceived manipulation. Admirers argued she handed Harry the blueprint for autonomy. Either way, her influence permeates the Lord's calculus. Remove his titles and, by extension, mute the Duchess title she still bears. Yet legal scholars note Meghan's status flows from marriage. Only divorce or specialized legislation could revoke it. Thus, the petition's focus on Harry creates legal tidiness while delivering a symbolic sting. But then lawmakers widen their lens, scanning Europe where other crowns have quietly restructured to survive public scrutiny. But then, glance across the channel and the pattern emerges. Monarchies are editing themselves with the cool precision of management consultants. Sweden's King Carl XVI Gustaf trimmed grandchild titles in 2019, slashing taxpayer costs and tabloid fodder. Denmark's Queen Margrethe followed suit in 2022, sparking family rancor but garnering poll approval. Spain's Felipe VI curtailed his sister's allowances after the 2014 abdication. These moves reveal monarchies adapting to Republican undercurrents by limiting who wears crowns in public coffers. British MPs cite such reforms during committee hearings. If continental cousins can downsize, why should Westminster balk at disciplining a wayward duke? Yet the UK approach is harsher legislative excision rather than internal slim down. Some lords worry precedent. Today Sussex, tomorrow an earl who marries a reality TV producer. Constitutional inertia collides with populist calls for accountability. Pollsters register a generational divide. Under, 35s largely indifferent to aristocratic ranks. Over 55s protective of heritage but weary of scandal. The Crown's advisors monitor these numbers like stock indices, knowing sovereign legitimacy hinges on soft consensus. But then public sentiment itself proves mercurial, splitting not left versus right, but empathy versus exasperation. But then, the British street polls reveal a nation torn between admiration for candor and fatigue over royal reality TV theatrics. One survey finds 42% applaud Harry's mental health advocacy. Another shows 58% think the couple overshare. Talk radio switchboards buzz, with callers citing wartime austerity, granny ration sugar, Harry sells secrets. Social media threads pit Team Harry against Protect the Crown, mirroring culture war flashpoints. The reporter navigates these narratives, noting how each new Sussex headline reignites dormant Brexit-era grievances, elitism, sovereignty, and national storytelling. Meghan supporters see racial undertones in criticism. Opponents deny it, framing objections as duty-based. Meanwhile, veterans, once Harry's bedrock, voice mixed feelings, gratitude for Invictus but discomfort with memoir battle tallies. This cacophony pressures Parliament, act decisively or risk appearing toothless. Yet overreach could backfire, transforming Harry into a martyr of royal censorship. Public sentiment is fickle. One paparazzi chase or charity triumph could swing it. But then inside Buckingham's marble corridors, emotion yields to protocol and ancient precedent whispers the playbook. But then, precedent-dusty yet potent guides palace advisors who know that constitutional gears grind slow but sure. Aides recall 1917's Titles Deprivation Act, under which King George V stripped German-aligned princes during World War I. Though crafted for wartime loyalty, the statute offers modern lawmakers a template. Legal drafts circulate referencing Section 1, empowering Parliament to advise the monarch on revocation. Courtiers weigh optics. The sovereign must appear above politics, thus peers lead Crown concurs. The reporter explains how letters patent royal instruments granting titles can be rescinded, yet peerages, unlike HRH styles, entwine with hereditary succession. Strip Sussex and his children's courtesy titles vanish too, collateral in legislative crossfire. Some councillors propose softer remedies, suspending HRH usage while retaining the dukedom. Hardliners argue half measures invite confusion. Against this backdrop, King Charles III maintains sphinx-like silence, honoring the Windsor Code that personal sentiment never colors public duty. But his courtiers leak subtle signals briefings about focused monarchy, hints of streamlining. Observers decode these as green lights for parliamentary momentum. But then the camera shifts back to Westminster, where constitutional stakes escalate from family spat to institutional survival. But then, if Parliament wields its quill, the fallout could redraw the very map of royal eligibility for a generation. Bills altering peerages typically languish in obscurity. This one dominates front pages. Committee witnesses include constitutional professors, charity CEOs, and retired Grenadier Guards who drilled under Captain Wales. Arguments fly: moral hazard, national branding, children's rights. International broadcasters dissect Britain's saga alongside attacks on foreign monarchies, reinforcing that global soft power is on trial. Should the act pass, Harry becomes a private citizen, Mr. Henry Charles Albert David Mountbatten Windsor, save for birth pre-nominals no law can erase, visa arrangements for US, residency, diplomatic immunities, even seating at Commonwealth Funeral Saul pivot on title status. For MPs in economically struggling constituencies, the petition offers a populist wedge, discipline privilege that offends working-class sensibility. Yet constitutional purists warn of mission creep. Parliamentarians meddling in hereditary matters could erode the separation between the Crown and legislature. Still, momentum builds as public hearings intimate a summer vote. But then, beyond statutes and headlines, the core question crystallizes around identity. Who is the man once shielded by regimental braid if the braid is cut away? But then, when the ermine settles, the world may meet Harry the outsider, a figure both liberated and diminished, carving a post-royal path without the royal passport. The veteran reporter closes the loop. Stripped titles will not erase Sandhurst's memories, Afghan tours, or Diana's legacy. Yet they will rebrand him in every formal context, from philanthropic summits to supermarket gossip magazines, a celebrity rather than a statesman. The monarchy, too, recalibrates. One less working royal, one more cautionary tale for future heirs flirting with Hollywood. For Harry, opportunity and challenge entwine. Free of protocol, he can advocate unapologetically. Lacking HRH gravitas, he must build authority through deeds alone. Arcuel's impact programs, already underway, could flourish or falter depending on donor appetite absent royal gloss. Meghan, technically still a duchess unless further action intervenes, navigates parallel ambiguity, half in, half out of aristocracy. Their children, Archie and Lilibet, born to dual narratives, might grow up reading case studies on their father's legislative uncrowning. Meanwhile, the palace banks on regained narrative control, presenting a forward-looking firm under Charles and the Waleses. Yet, history is fickle. A reconciliatory photograph or national tragedy could thaw relations overnight. The script fades not with a verdict, but with tension. An era where tradition meets transparency, where crowns survive by pruning, and where one prince's quest for voice may echo as either a cautionary echo or a blueprint for modern monarchy. And so the countdown to Parliament's vote begins, each tick a reminder that in the kingdom of story and statute alike, titles are fragile but consequences are forever.